Oh, hey everybody! This is Rory for Swarmio Esports, and did you hear the news? EA recently lost 8% of its stock prices in 1 month. November 2017, EA lost 8%, which in monetary terms is $3 billion. Yes, that's billion, with a B. You might ask, how did it happen? How do you lose $3 billion in 1 month? It was actually due to one game. And one feature in one game, actually. Gamers are finally fed up with the pay-to-play loot box fiasco that is Battlefront 2, with gamers leaping out of their pre-orders by thousands and thousands and thousands, and investors are freaking out. So in order to figure out where we're going and where we are, it's important to know where we've been. So kids, all gather round and come with me on a brief history of loot boxes!
Now, it's hard to actually pin down where the original ideas for the loot box system began. The differences between gaming and gaming has been a fuzzy line ever since the early days of Nintendo. This is due to loot boxes being an extension of the randomized loot drop system first seen in games like Diablo as early as 1996. That was 20 years ago. Oh my god. That was 20. Oh god. The randomized loot system was thrown into overdrive with the rise of the MMORPG, the massive multiplayer online RPG where players would grind mobs for hours or days for a specific drop for their specific item for their specific class. This is most emphasized in the most popular MMO of all time, Blizzard's World of Warcraft. WoW had such a perfect system of risk and reward and time versus items. It kept players logged in for days and weeks. It caused players to refer to the game as World of Warcraft and spawned communities such as WoWaholics Anonymous. While it's true that WoW wasn't the first MMORPG to create this addictive environment, with MMO predecessors such as EverQuest and Ultima Online, World of Warcraft was easily the most popular and somewhat perfected the system of addictive randomized loot drops. And while this may look like killing mobs to throw a lever of a slot machine, there was no money involved in the acquisition of in-game goods, so most people didn't see it as anything more than a clever in-game mechanic to incentivize playing. But this isn't the last time Blizzard's gonna show up in this video. Enter loot boxes. Stage left. While the initial kernel of an idea for loot boxes is difficult to pin down, the first implementation of the loot box system is not. The first known instance of loot boxes within a game was seen in the Chinese free-to-play title ZT Online, released a decade ago in 2007. The reasoning behind the loot box implementation in Asia was sound and actually a really good idea. Most gamers in China don't have the money to pay $60 USD base prices for most AAA North American titles. So players use internet cafes or PC bangs as they call them to play games for free. Or they just pirate games, which leaves the developers completely empty-handed. The Chinese market invented the free-to-play loot box system not so much out of greed as much as necessity. The players needed a new payment structure to appeal to a vastly different market than the traditional North American gamer. What they inadvertently did was create a completely new revenue model for any game developer within any game market to exploit to their heart's content. The free-to-play microtransaction model was quickly adopted by most mobile games, but found its home on more traditional gaming devices in the emerging new genre of games known as MOBAs, or Multiplayer Online Battle Arenas. What started as a simple mod for the hugely popular Warcraft 3, known as Defense of the Ancients, quickly spun off into a whole new genre of standalone titles after 2011, such as Riot's League of Legends, Blizzard's Heroes of the Storm, and Valve's namesake, Defense of the Ancients, or Dota. Most of these titles were free to download, but allowed for purchases of in-game items or characters to enhance gameplay. Most players and critics tolerated this payment structure because the titles were free, and most in-game items and characters could be unlocked for free through play. There was yet to be many gambling aspects to the whole in-game purchases, but what these incredibly popular titles achieved was desensitizing the player base to in-game purchases, and grabbed the attention of AAA publishers looking for a new revenue stream for their multi-million-dollar titles. At this point, all the ingredients are in place for a randomized casino simulator that is paid for loot boxes, but no company has yet to put all the ingredients together in a AAA paid-for title. Little did people know that the first and maybe most successful loot box system ever created was going to be inserted within one of esports' most decorated and venerable titles, Counter-Strike. In September 2013, Valve introduced the Arms Deal update for Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which in their words, lets you experience all the illicit thrills of black market weapons trafficking without any of the hanging around in darkened warehouse getting knifed to death. Yeah, there's nothing fishy about that. This update introduced over 100 weapon skins with the ability to collect, trade, and buy skins on the Steam community market. For a game like Counter-Strike, this system only made sense. Many players bought the title on a Steam sale for $15 and sank hundreds to thousands of hours into it for the best hourly pay-to-amusement ratio on Earth. This highly competitive title also caused players to crave status symbols to solidify their authority among the ranks. The system, however, had its fair share of critics. Players received loot boxes through playing online matches of CSGO, but were only allowed to open the cases with a special key they had to purchase or earn separately. So cases would sit idly in a player's inventory as a tempting mystery nugget awaiting the player's key purchase. The system also spawned the entire industry of skin gambling and trade scams, as the skins were used as an international unlicensed currency, with some knives commanding up to $5,900 USD on the skins market. The boxes and keys could also be purchased, with the items being immediately sold, which many critics likened to unregulated gambling that was completely legal for children to take part in, creating an underground gambling industry that reportedly raked in $5 billion from skin gambling in 2016. One important note, however, is that none of the skins affected actual gameplay. Every gun and knife, no matter what skin was enabled, functioned the same exact way as the base skin counterpart. These skins were purely cosmetic and a huge boon to revenue for Valve, which were simply creating new small texture files that made them millions upon millions of dollars. It was impossible for other game publishers not to take notice. The modern era of loot boxes. Undoubtedly, the beginning of the modern era of loot boxes came in May 2016 with the release of Blizzard's multiplayer hero shooter Overwatch. Upon release, Overwatch received universal acclaim and has only increased in popularity since launch, with 35 million player accounts created as of October 2017, and exceeding revenues of $1 billion as of the first quarter of 2017. A big reason for this waterfall of cash is loot box microtransactions. Even though no loot box items actually affect gameplay at all, and all emotes, skins, and voice lines are purely cosmetic, Blizzard has created a system that makes purchasing these loot boxes incredibly tempting. Certain seasonal events trigger cosmetic items that are only available for a limited time, and the drop rate of rare items has been mathematically designed to encourage you to want, no, need, that next loot box. Even though some critics were heralding the oncoming deluge of loot box microtransactions in AAA titles, most players saw no issue in the randomized purchasing of cosmetic items that did not affect gameplay in the least. Little did anybody know that this was simply a precursor to 2017, the year of the loot box. What many people see as a very 2017 problem is actually a slippery slope of gamer tolerance that actually goes back further than a decade. Let's review the stages and reactions of this gradual slide towards the loot box madness before we get to the actual crimes perpetrated by Star Wars Battlefront 2. Randomized loot drops in game? Great! Player incentive. Microtransaction purchases in free-to-play titles? Sure, why not? Everybody needs to make money. Randomized purchases of in-game cosmetic items. Well, yeah, sure, I guess. Black market trading for randomized in-game items. What? Legal? Is it? I don't know. Randomized loot crates with items that affect gameplay. Whoa, hey now. What? Purchasable loot crates that give players noticeable advantages over other players. Nope. And the bottom of the loot box slippery slope is where we find the sin that many games, not just Battlefront 2, are committing in 2017. We've seen in the loot crate orcs of Shadow of War, the speed cards of Need for Speed Payback, the shaders of Destiny 2, and the XP boosts of Call of Duty World War II. The AAA publishers have already used expansion packs, seasonal passes, and premium editions to milk as much money as they can out of gamers with a bit of extra cash in their pockets. And now loot boxes are the new frontier of monetary incentive to stack on top of the base price of a game. But if so many titles have used this system in 2017, why has Star Wars Battlefront 2 received the brunt of the criticism, you ask? Well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, EA promised they learned their lesson from Star Wars Battlefront 1 and would not sell an overpriced premium edition and season pass for an incomplete game. Number two, EA owns all the rights to the Star Wars franchise, and if you want to play a Star Wars game, you have to play EA's Star Wars game. If the game is a blatant wallet grab, you just successfully pissed off one of the most vocal fandoms on the face of the planet. And number three, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is the most transparent pay-to-win AAA title in the collection of loot box titles so far in 2017, which is particularly egregious when noting the first two reasons. There are many videos listing Battlefront 2's sins far better than I could, but it's important to know where we came from to understand where we are and where we're going.
So here we are in 2017, the year of the loot boxes. Will EA learn its lesson? Have they flown too close to the profit-laden sun? Unfortunately, ever since December 2016, EA's stock price is actually up by about 20%, even with the recent $3 billion dip. So it's possible they haven't learned their lesson, but who knows? Maybe 2018 will be the year that major AAA game publishers take their foot off of the greed gas, and we all get back to paying $60 for an enjoyable experience. This has been Rory Andrews for Swarmio Esports. Out.